You're tired of negotiating with yourself. You've been calling it a habit, a phase, stress, just something I do when I'm tired. You've tried to shrink it down so it doesn't look dangerous, but the truth is you already know what it's costing you. It's stealing your focus. You sit down to work and your mind can't hold a straight line for more than a few minutes. You feel restless, scattered, constantly reaching for stimulation like your brain can't tolerate silence anymore. You're physically present, mentally, somewhere else. It's damaging your relationships, not just intimacy, real connection. You start to see people through a filter. You stop being fully available. You become quicker to withdraw, quicker to irritate, slower to feel anything that takes patience. And it's draining your respect for yourself. That quiet shame you feel isn't because you're bad. It's because you're divided. One part of you wants to be a man with integrity. Another part of you keeps taking the easier exit. You can only live split like that for so long before it starts to rot your confidence from the inside. You've told yourself you've got it under control. You've promised never again. You've deleted apps. You've blocked sites. You've tried a detox. You've tried white knuckling it with willpower. And then something happens. A rough day, a rejection, boredom, late night, an argument, a lonely weekend. You get that familiar pull, like your body remembers a shortcut to relief. And before you can even think clearly, you're back where you said you would never return. That loop isn't proof you're hopeless. It's proof you've been fighting the wrong battle. Because the real battle isn't simply against desire. It's against a system that trains desire to become dependency. It's against a world that profits from your distraction, your isolation, and your numbness. Let's get something straight. Your brain isn't broken. It's been conditioned. You live inside an economy of attention. Everything is competing for your eyes, your time, your clicks. Platforms are designed to keep you engaged. Feeds are designed to keep you scrolling. Content is designed to trigger arousal, curiosity, envy, outrage, anything that spikes your nervous system and keeps you coming back. When you combine that with loneliness, stress, and easy access, you don't get a small habit. You get a pipeline. So no, this isn't just moral failure. This isn't simply you lacking discipline. Discipline matters, but discipline alone won't beat a machine engineered to exploit the most ancient parts of your biology. If you want to win, you need a strategy. You need structure. You need to rebuild your nervous system from the inside out. You need to become the kind of man who doesn't rely on escape. And there's a hard truth here. If you finish listening to this and go right back to the same patterns, then you didn't just slip. You chose the chain, not because you're weak, but because you stayed unarmed. So if you're ready to stop being the target and start being the problem for the thing that's been hunting you, listen closely. This is not inspiration. This is a plan. First, stop calling it temptation. Call it what it is, a trigger. When you say temptation, you make it sound like some random spiritual attack that falls out of the sky, like it just happens to you, like you have no map, no patterns, no warning signs. But this behavior is rarely random. It's predictable. It's conditioned. It shows up at specific times, in specific moods, in specific environments. So you start by naming it. When does it hit? Late at night? After you've been scrolling for an hour? When you feel rejected? When you're stressed and overstimulated? When you're alone in your room? When you're trying to fall asleep? When you're anxious about work? When you feel like you're behind in life? Write it down, not in a dramatic way, in a tactical way. For 7 days, you track every urge, not every relapse, every urge, every pull, Every moment your mind starts heading toward the exit. Right time, location, what you were doing right before it hit, what you were feeling, not what you were thinking, what you told yourself in that moment. No judgment, no speeches, just data. Because the moment you can see the pattern, you stop being confused. Confusion keeps you passive. Clarity makes you dangerous. Most men don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they're unaware. They don't know the moment the slide begins. They only notice when they're already falling. Your goal is to catch the first domino. For many men, the first domino isn't lust, it's emotion. Loneliness, frustration, boredom, shame, anxiety, fatigue. The urge is the brain trying to regulate discomfort the fastest way it knows how. So you're not just tracking behavior, you're tracking pain. And once you see the blueprint, you can build a counterattack. Second, you do not recover alone. You recover with accountability. Shame thrives in secrecy. Secrecy is the habitat. If you keep this private, you keep it powerful. Listen, isolation isn't strength, it's vulnerability. A man alone in a room with a phone and a tired brain is not in control. He's in a trap. You need someone who knows, not someone who will pity you, someone who will hold the line with you. Pick one person you respect. One, a friend with integrity, a mentor, a brother, a coach, a pastor, someone who doesn't mock discipline, someone who values truth, and you send a message that is simple and direct. Not a novel, not an emotional dump, a clear statement of intent. Something like, I'm done hiding. I'm working on breaking a compulsive pattern, and I need accountability. Can I check in with you once a week? If that person isn't safe or doesn't take it seriously, you choose another. No drama, no self-pity, just move. Because here's what accountability does. It breaks the fantasy that you can keep living two lives. It forces alignment, and alignment is freedom. If you want to go further, set a system, a weekly check-in call, a daily clean day text, a rule that you never relapse in silence. You report within 24 hours, not to be shamed, but to be honest. Your excuses die when someone else is in the room, even if the room is just a text thread. You don't need an audience. You need one ally. Third, kill the conditions that feed it. Lust doesn't win in a life with momentum. This pattern survives on idle time and easy access. It strikes when you're bored, when you're alone, when you're tired, when your day has no structure, when your body has too much stored energy and nowhere to put it, when you're living on screens and avoiding reality. So you cut the supply lines. You don't just try harder. You change the environment so trying becomes easier. Start here. No phone in the bathroom. Ever. No phone in bed. Ever. Devices charge outside your room at night. Social media gets limited windows, not open-ended scrolling. You delete the apps that act like gateways. You unfollow anything that spikes arousal or fantasy, even if it's not that bad. Not because you're scared, because you're serious. If you want to act like a man at war, you don't bring the enemy into your house and call it freedom. You fortify. Then you fill the gap. Because if you remove a behavior and don't replace the reward, your brain will hunt for the old reward harder. So you replace it with things that rebuild your reward system. Strength training, running or long walks, combat sports, cold exposure if you can handle it safely. Learning a skill that demands focus, music, language, building something, coding, cooking, trade work. Reading physical books when you feel the pull, something your brain can't skim. Your nervous system needs clean intensity. Most men relapse because their days are either numb or chaotic. You need controlled pressure, sweat, discipline, real challenge. A man with a mission and a schedule is harder to hijack. And understand this: you're not just quitting a behavior, you're quitting what it did for you. You're quitting the void it filled. So ask yourself honestly, what void is it filling? Is it filling loneliness? Then you need real connection and community. Is it filling stress? Then you need a healthier decompression ritual. Is it filling shame? Then you need honesty and self respect, not more hiding. Is it filling boredom? Then you need goals and structure, not another screen. You don't beat this by removing pleasure. You beat this by building a life that makes cheap pleasure feel small. Fourth, train your mind like a disciplined man, not a guilty man. Guilt feels like action, but it usually isn't. Guilt is often just ego pain. It keeps you stuck because it keeps the focus on "I'm terrible" instead of "here's what I do next." You need skill, not self-hatred. The skill is this: noticing impulses without obeying them. 5 minutes every morning. Sit still, eyes closed, breathe slow. Your mind will throw images, memories, fantasies, cravings, random noise. That's fine. That's what minds do. The goal isn't to have no thoughts. The goal is to stop being controlled by them. When the thought shows up, you don't wrestle it. You label it urge, fantasy, escape, anxiety. Then you return to the breath. That moment, seeing the thought instead of becoming the thought, is where your freedom begins. Because relapse doesn't start with your hands. It starts with permission. It starts with a story. I deserve it. Just this once. I'm stressed. No one will know. I already ruined the day. You train yourself to hear that story and not follow it. And then you build a ritual of identity. Every day you speak a line that anchors you, not because it's motivational, because it's a command. Say it out loud. I am not what I feel. I am what I choose. Or, I don't run to escape. I face what's real. Or, I'm becoming a man I respect. If you're religious, add prayer. If you're not, add reflection. Either way, you need a daily practice that reminds your brain we're not living on impulse anymore. This is not mysticism. This is mental conditioning. Men become what they repeatedly do. Fifth, build a life that makes lust irrelevant. Not just sobriety, legacy. A lot of men aim for not failing. They want to stop the behavior and stay safe, but safety is not the goal. Strength is. If your whole life is built around avoiding relapse, you're still living as a prisoner. Just a prisoner with better locks. Freedom is bigger than restraint. Freedom is purpose. So, you build work you're proud of, a body you respect, friendships you can count on, a skill you're sharpening, a mission outside yourself. Serve someone, teach someone, mentor someone younger, volunteer, join a team. Put yourself in rooms where men build instead of cope. Because lust thrives in emptiness. It thrives when you have no direction and no tribe. The man who is exhausted from honest work, surrounded by real people, moving toward a goal, does not crave the same escape. He's too full, not full of pleasure, full of meaning. And meaning changes what your brain craves. Now let's talk about relapse, because pretending you'll never slip is how men stay trapped. You're not a robot. You're a man rebuilding a pattern. There may be setbacks, but there's a difference between a setback and surrender. A setback becomes surrender when you hide, spiral, and decide it's over. So you create a relapse protocol before relapse happens. A plan for the moment you're weakest, Here's a simple protocol. 1. The moment you slip, you stop. You don't finish the fall. You cut it off. 2. You leave the room, change location, change temperature, change posture. 3. You report it to your accountability partner within 24 hours. 4. You write what happened. Trigger, time, emotion, story you told yourself. 5. You install a countermeasure for that exact trigger, not shame. Strategy. You don't say, I failed. You say, I found a hole in the fence. Men who win aren't men who never get tempted. They're men who respond like professionals when temptation shows up. Let's get sharper. What you're really fighting is not lust, it's avoidance. You think it's about sex. Most of the time, it's not. It's about not wanting to feel what you feel. Stress, grief, insecurity, anger, fear of not being enough, fear of being alone, fear that your life isn't going where it should. So your brain offers you a quick exit, a chemical off switch, a momentary escape. That's why the behavior feels magnetic. It's not just pleasure, it's relief. And if you don't learn how to face discomfort, you will always be vulnerable to the fastest form of relief available. So you practice facing discomfort in small doses. Finish tasks you don't feel like finishing. Sit in silence for 5 minutes without grabbing a screen. Have the hard conversation you've been avoiding. Go train when you don't feel like it. Go outside when you want to hide. This is how you rebuild self-respect. You prove to yourself repeatedly that you do hard things on purpose. Self-respect is not a feeling. It's a record of decisions. And here's the part most men need to hear. You are not your urges. An urge is a wave. It rises, peaks, and falls. It always falls. But if you panic, if you argue with it, if you dramatize it, you feed it, you make it bigger than it is. Instead, you'll ride it. When the urge hits, name it. This is an urge. Delay it. I'm not deciding anything for 10 minutes. Move your body. Push-ups. Walk. Cold water. Breathe outside. Replace the input. Get away from the screen. Get into a real environment. Urges don't like motion. They like stillness and secrecy, so you stop giving them their favorite conditions. If you want to take this seriously, do an audit of your life. Ask, what time do I usually get pulled? Where am I when it happens? What device is involved? What emotion is involved? What content is feeding the pipeline earlier in the day? Who knows my struggle? What is my daily structure? What is my physical outlet? What is my purpose right now? Write your answers. Don't guess. Don't soften them. A man who tells the truth on paper starts telling the truth in life. Let's talk about masculinity. Real masculinity, not online performance. Real masculinity isn't pretending you never struggle. Real masculinity is taking responsibility without excuses. It's saying, this pattern ends with me. I don't blame my past, but I deal with it. I don't blame society, but I stop cooperating with it. I don't wait to feel motivated. I move because it's right. You're not trying to become perfect. You're trying to become dependable, the kind of man who keeps promises, especially the promises nobody else hears. That man isn't built by comfort. He's built by decisions that cost something. So here's what you do today. Today, not someday. 1. Write 1 page. Your triggers, your times, your patterns. 2. Move your phone charger outside your room tonight. 3. Message 1 person for accountability. 4. Schedule your training for tomorrow like it's a meeting. 5. Decide your new rule for screens. No bed, no bathroom, no endless scrolling. You don't need a grand reinvention. You need a clean start and a tight system, because your life doesn't change when you feel inspired. It changes when you build structure that doesn't depend on mood. And when your mind tries to bargain, because it will, remember this. Your brain will say, just one more time. But one more time is never one more time. It's one more loop, one more brick in the wall, one more day you delay becoming who you said you want to be. You don't defeat this with hatred for yourself. You defeat it with respect for yourself. Respect looks like boundaries. Respect looks like training. Respect looks like accountability. Respect looks like purpose. You are not powerless. You are just unarmed. Now you're armed. And if you want a line to hold on to when it gets loud, use this. I don't live for the urge. I live for the man I'm becoming. Close this. Don't scroll. Don't save it for later. Later is how men stay trapped. Pick up your phone and send the message. Write the first entry in the journal. Stand up and move your body. Do one hard thing on purpose. This isn't about quitting a habit. It's about reclaiming your mind, reclaiming your attention, reclaiming your dignity, reclaiming your future. You don't have to be a slave to whatever your nervous system demands in the dark. You never did. Start today, like a man who intends to win.